In the year 2000, the world witnessed one of the most controversial elections in American history. The presidential race between George W. Bush and Al Gore came down to just a few hundred votes in the state of Florida. Bush wins Florida by just 537 votes. And this happens not because most people in Florida prefer W. Bush, but because of the presence of a third-party candidate, Ralph Nader, alongside issues with ballot counting and design. Many believe the third-party candidate pulled away enough votes from Al Gore. If Ralph Nader hadn't been on the ballot, Al Gore most likely would have won, as the majority of Ralph Nader voters prefer Al Gore over W. Bush. Think about it. The very presence of one extra candidate who had no realistic chance of winning completely flipped the outcome of who became president of the country. This was one real-world manifestation of the fact there is no perfect way to make elections fair. The simplest and most common voting system, and what many countries use, is called first-past-the-post system, or simply whoever gets the most votes wins. Sounds fair, right? But it's not. Here's why. Suppose three candidates are running: Alice, Bob, and Carol. Now, imagine the voters' preferences look like this. 40% of voters love Alice and hate the others. 35% prefer Bob, and their second choice is Carol. And 25% prefer Carol, and their second choice is Bob. Under first past the post, Alice wins with 40% of the vote, even if 60% of voters actually prefer Bob or Carol to Alice. For example, in the UK, no party has won by more than 50% of the vote since the 1931 and 1935 election. In a first-past-the-post vote system, a candidate can win even if most people would rather see someone else in power. To fix this, some suggest using instant runoff voting system, also called ranked choice. In the instant runoff, voters rank candidates instead of picking just one, and if no one gets 50% of the total vote right away, the lowest candidate is eliminated and their votes go to their second choice. This process of elimination and reallocation continues until one candidate secures more than 50% of the vote. Sounds like a neat fix, but let's test it. Take the same voters, Alice, Bob, and Carol, and in the first round, assume Alice has 45% vote, Bob 30%, and Carol 25% vote. Since no candidate gets a majority of the vote, it goes to the second round, and Carol is eliminated since she has the lowest votes, and her 25% of vote go to their second choice, Bob, which makes Bob the winner. Great! The majority's preference is reflected, but now imagine a slight shift. Let's say Alice made a huge mistake in her electoral campaign, and because of that, some of her voters select Carol, and now Bob is eliminated as he has the lowest votes. But since people who vote Bob put down Alice as their second choice, Alice gets some more votes and wins the election, despite doing terrible. This system can give different winners based on small tweaks in rankings, and it's not what we want in our voting system. Then, in 1785, a French philosopher and mathematician named Nicolas de Condorcet proposed what he believed was the most fair voting system yet. His idea was simple. If you really want to know who deserves to win, you should compare every candidate against every other candidate in a head-to-head matchup. For example, if Alice, Bob, and Carol are the three candidates, you ask voters to rank all three from most to least preferred. Then you run a series of head-to-head matchups. That means you count how many voters prefer Alice over Bob, Alice over Carol, and Bob over Carol. And if one candidate can beat every other candidate in these one-on-one comparisons, all good. That candidate should be the winner. But here's the problem. Most of the time, there is no such ultimate winner. Let's make it clear. Imagine three voters split their vote between A, B, and C like this. One rank A over B and B over C. The second rank B over C and C over A. And third person rank C over A and A over B. The head-to-head matchups between A, B, and C give us this strange cycle. A beats B, as two voters chose A over B, and B beats C, as two voters chose B over C, and C beats A, as two voters chose C over A. This is what we now call the Condorcet Paradox. there's no candidate who wins against all others. So even Condorcet's most fair system collapses in certain cases. This voting system was discovered 500 years earlier, in the 13th century, by a Majorcan Catholic philosopher and theologian named Ramon Lull. He wrote about it in his book, The Art of Election. Unfortunately, his book was lost for centuries and was discovered in 2001. That's why this voting system was named after Condorcet, not Raymond Lull. After Condorcet, dozens of brilliant mathematicians, philosophers, and reformers tried to solve the problem. They tweaked systems, invented new ones, and searched for a method that could finally deliver a perfectly fair election. But every attempt ran into contradictions, cycles, or loopholes, and fairness seemed like a mirage. And that's when a young American economist named Kenneth Arrow stepped in and settled the debate once and for all. Instead of proposing yet another method, he proved something radical. A perfect voting system is mathematically impossible. He set out a theorem called Arrow's Impossibility Theorem, a theorem so powerful it won him the 1972 Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences. Arrow laid out 5 criteria that any ideal election should satisfy, and then he proved, if you have 3 or more candidates, it's impossible to design a system that meets all of them at once. And here are his 5 criteria that any fair election should satisfy. Criteria 1. Every voter should be able to rank the candidates however they want, without restriction. If someone likes candidate A best, then C, then B last, that should be a valid vote. This one is known as unrestricted preferences. Criteria 2. The outcome shouldn't just follow one voter's personal ranking no matter what. For example, if we secretly decided that whoever Tyler votes for automatically wins, that wouldn't be an election, it would be a dictatorship. This criteria is called non-dictatorship. Criteria 3. If every single voter prefers candidate A over candidate B, then B should never win. This one is called Pareto efficiency. Criteria 4. If society chooses A over B, then the introduction of new candidate C should not affect their preference between A and B. This one is called independence of irrelevant alternatives. Criteria 5. If society prefers A over B and B over C, then society should also prefer A over C. This is called transitivity or consistency. Arrow's proof shows that, in most situations, a voting system can't satisfy all 5 of these at once. You can meet some of the criteria, but you always have to sacrifice at least one. Arrow's conclusion was, there is no perfect way to translate individual preferences into a collective decision. So, when we argue about election methods, plurality, ranked choice, Condorcet, and runoffs, we're just debating which kind of unfairness we're willing to accept. But that doesn't mean democracy is useless. It doesn't mean we shouldn't care about elections. Democracy is sometimes a compromise, a system of balancing imperfections. It's just way better than the other choices we have. So the question isn't, how do we make elections fair, but rather, which flaws are we willing to live with?